Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, 4 of Tasmania's key tourism assets have been sold from RACT to NRMA, with millions of dollars in upgrades and refurbishments promised. Cradle Mountain Hotel and Freycinet Lodge are among the businesses included in the deal, with guarantees all staff will keep their jobs.
4 of Tasmania's tourism jewels set to change hands.
This opportunity was just too good to pass up. Tasmania is an iconic destination in Australia.
NRMA agreeing to purchase the Cradle Mountain Hotel, Freycinet Lodge, Strawn Village and Gordon River Cruises from RACT. The West Coast, one area in particular they see as a potential boon market.
That is such a remarkable place, and we believe that with just a little bit more investment, it could become an even more iconic destination for Tasmania.
As part of a strategy review, we've determined that ultimately there are other opportunities for us to invest our members' money to create a greater value for members here in Tasmania.
RACT purchased the businesses from Federal Group in 2014. The sale price this time around hasn't been released.
We took the assets to market. It was an incredibly strong level of interest, not just from Australia but from around the world.
RACT says its decision to divest heavily from Tasmanian tourism isn't due to a lack of confidence in it. Industry bodies are licking their lips at NRMA's involvement, with the planned investment set to provide huge opportunity in their regions.
Freycinet would be one of the most sought after areas in the world to visit, and we have to make sure that we can maintain a high level of accommodation and attraction for tourists into that region.
Strawn Village and Cradle Mountain Hotel have both been earmarked for renovations. West by Northwest's Tom Wootton said, "We're extremely excited about the reinvigorated visitor experience to be on offer and additional demand this will generate."
No doubt this is only the beginning of a very positive set of investments for Tasmanian tourism and hospitality in our state.
The deal also includes a guarantee for staff. All those working in the 4 businesses will retain their jobs. A much needed assurance for some of our most tourism dependent regions. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
It was a surprisingly civil day in State Parliament as the Liberals faced a new era of governing without Sue Hickey. While the Premier played down constant speculation of an early election, yet another battle is brewing, a renewed fight against controversial anti-protest laws.
Their mouths taped over, their silent message clear. A vigil lining the front of Parliament House, advocates standing side by side, protesting anti-protest laws.
Our democratic rights are directly under attack. We're not here for fun, we're not here to muck around, we're here because we are gravely concerned.
The controversial legislation to be debated in the upper house this week. The government says the law allows some protests to go ahead, but not all.
What's not acceptable is people deliberately invading workplaces, work sites, tying themselves to dangerous equipment and stopping operations which are lawful and commercial.
But opponents say it's confusing and stifles free speech.
Criminal law is supposed to be narrow, it's supposed to be targeted, it's supposed to make it clear to the average citizen when they're going to be breaking the law and when they're not.
These laws can and will capture legitimate union protest, from nurses protesting about patient ratios to teachers protesting against privatisation.
Yet another headache for a government facing its first day in Parliament after being plunged into minority. Tempers were, however, surprisingly under control following Speaker Sue Hickey's bombshell departure from the party. Many speculating an early election is just around the corner.
When you pull the strings together, the anti-protest laws, Madam Speaker, when you pull all that together, it does seem like they're gearing up for an early election.
The Premier giving nothing away.
Tasmania will have an election when it needs one. Tasmania will have an election when it needs an election. Tasmania will have an election when it needs one.
While the Speaker was all smiles, her former party left to pick up the pieces, facing accusations it shuts down individual thought.
I don't believe that I've ever had to be compromised, and we have a party that has often robust discussions behind closed doors about issues.
Civil today, but with 2 sittings left this week. That's a long time in politics. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Dark Mofo organisers have axed a controversial artwork from this year's festival lineup just days after it was announced. The iconic event is no stranger to provocative performances. Plans were unveiled on Saturday to exhibit an art piece involving soaking a Union Jack flag in blood donated by First Nations people. The move met with widespread uproar and criticism from within the Aboriginal community. In a statement, the festival director today apologised and admitted a mistake had been made. Tasmania Police is searching for a Nepalese man now missing for almost a week. 26-year-old Hem Biswal was last seen in Glenorchy 6 days ago and has a medical condition that requires attention. The man speaks limited English. Anyone with information should contact police. A large oil spill has created peak hour traffic havoc in Hobart CBD. Litres of the liquid leaked from a truck just after 9 this morning, spewing onto the road near Brisbane Street, forcing the closure of one lane. Response teams used gravel dust to cover the spill. The road was reopened several hours later. 1 year ago today, Tasmania's hospitality industry was dealt a savage blow. Pubs, clubs and restaurants all forced to close due to coronavirus lockdowns. But the industry is finally bouncing back, now encouraging everyone to take a trip to their local watering hole.
It was an eerie sight. On this day last year, our pubs and clubs became ghost towns, coronavirus forcing businesses to call last drinks.
A lot of beer was poured down the drains and a lot of money was lost and a lot of jobs were lost, so it's sort of a sad anniversary.
Both my wife and I both lost our jobs. We accepted a redundancy from where we were, and fortunately here we are now with a new beginning.
While Darren is grateful to be back at a new venue, he says the hangover still remains.
We're still trying to get back to where we were. We're a long way. We're still less than 50% of what this business was.
To help, an Australian brewing giant shouting the bar. James Bogue on a line offering vouchers, promoting today's inaugural National Local Day.
You can get a $15 voucher, digital cash card to meet your mates at the pub and buy a couple of beers at your local.
See what we're trying to do within the venue, see that it's a safe, welcoming venue, and they may become a regular or a local.
While welcomed, the industry believes one simple gesture is still needed.
They're still only at half capacity, so all these great initiatives that governments are coming out with flights and New Zealand bubbles can only be half effective until we actually get rid of those restrictions.
We've got an outdoor space that we can fit excess of 250 in, and at the moment that number's around 100.
Also looking to the future, unveiling the head of a new hospitality and training group, working with providers to improve opportunities.
Our focus will be working with industry, listening to their needs and understanding what training they need for the future.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
The state's TAFE teachers are seeking an apology from the Premier, saying his idea to turn TAFE into a government-owned business is disrespectful. The government has outlined a plan to change the future of the institution, giving it more flexibility to meet industry needs. But staff say they're concerned about their own future, unsure about potential job losses and redundancies.
They just don't have a true concept of what actually happens at TAFE and what's involved.
We are nimble, we are agile. We provide courses and training for young people right across Tasmania when it is needed. It is an absolute furphy from the state government to say that we aren't.
The Premier says he has no plans to privatise TAFE and staff will not be disadvantaged. The state's police union is calling for immediate action to make Tasmanian courts safer for officers. 10 premises around the state have been issued court improvement notices by WorkSafe Tasmania, a move the Police Association says is long overdue.
We have a string of police officers that have been injured in court, and it should be a safe place. The thing for us is that it's a shame that WorkSafe had to use legislative power to bring about this change.
It wants to see entry screening similar to airports or Parliament, as well as better training for security personnel. Capacity limits for more venues in Tasmania have been raised. Public Health says churches, places of worship and funeral homes are now allowed to seat attendees at 75% capacity, or up to 250 people. This brings them into line with theatres, some of whom have recently had applications for increased capacity approved as long as patrons wear masks.
We've surveyed our audience this past weekend to get their take on it, and 1 in 4 of our audience won't attend if they are compelled to wear a mask.
Theatre companies are calling for the state government to outline more solid plans back towards zero restrictions in their venues.
The Southern Football League is bracing for its return to the park for round 1, with hopes the regional competition could fast become one of the best in the state. But significant problems remain, with some clubs in doubt, facing dwindling player numbers. A disrupted 2020 was largely about survival for the SFL. Player pay cuts kept most clubs temporarily afloat, but now the league is preparing for the post-COVID chapter.
We're very excited about it, especially after last year.
Amid the backdrop of footy's Good Friday return, the competition's boss has a new focus.
We're going to continue to work on lifting our brand.
Effectively raising the profile of the SFL above other regional competitions. Difficult when some teams are struggling for players a week out from round 1.
The numbers are still a problem across the clubs.
Numbers vary week to week just on people's commitments.
No such lack of hunger at Huonville. A raft of new recruits has the Lions primed and motivated to seal back-to-back flags.
We know we're going to have to take it to another level if we want to get that again, but that drive's definitely still there. Now we've had it, we want it again.
To hockey, and there was no love lost in the men's Premier League match between OHA and University. The fiery clash saw both sides reduced to 10 men in the second quarter and left the students without a goalkeeper.
We definitely took advantage of it, but yeah, it's pretty rare these days. You don't really usually see a keeper get sent off.
The men in green edged home 4-3. Meanwhile, a double from Ash Arthur propelled Northwest graduates to a 2-goal victory over an improved Canterbury side.
We've come out with a slightly new mindset and a bit of a point to prove that, yeah, we're not going to choke at the end of the day.
And Richie Port's return to the World Cycling Circuit wasn't without drama, as a tyre puncture threatened to derail his tilt at the Volta Catalunya in Spain. But the Tasmanian went on the front foot, powering up the mountain to claw back contention with the peloton. Tasmania could find out as early as next week whether it will host some matches in the 2023 Women's Soccer World Cup. Football Australia CEO James Johnson made the comments as he visited Hobart today to meet with local politicians. Launceston's UTAS Stadium was nominated for hosting rights as part of the successful bid.
So we don't have a date yet, but I would think by the end of the month or early April would be the date of the announcement.
We're really looking forward to an exciting 2021 with Western United coming, Calder United coming, and hopefully Launceston being chosen as a host city in the FIFA Women's World Cup.
Women make up 28% of players in Tasmania. Meanwhile, it was a memorable night in the A-League for Tasmanian Nathaniel Atkinson.
He does. Play still on, and that is a goal. That is the second. Nathaniel Atkinson.
The defender's rare goal, only the second of his career, guided Melbourne City to a 2-0 win over the Central Coast Mariners. It marked an historic night for City striker Jamie McLaren, who became the fastest player to score 90 goals in the league, reaching the milestone in 136 appearances. A date for Tasmania's NBL homecoming has been locked in, with the New Zealand Breakers to begin a 4-match Launceston stint at the Silverdome on April 6. The Kiwi side hasn't played in its home country since late last year and will be based in Tasmania for around 3 weeks. It will be the first time the NBL has played a regular season game here since 2005. A small taste of what's to come ahead of the Jack Jumpers' debut in the league later next year.
Good evening. Hobart and Launceston 25 degrees today, Burnie 21 and Devonport 23, Bushy Park 26 and Strawn 25, Smithton and Friendly Beaches 22, Low Head and St Helens 21, Flinders Island 20 and King Island 19. Grey recorded 25 millimetres of rain today as the clouds started to build, particularly over the north and northeast. Of course, the cloud over southeastern Australia remained. Thunderstorms are in a line of cloud from Darwin to New South Wales, cloud with a cold front south of Western Australia. Tomorrow we have a deep low over Bass Strait. The cold front moves near South Australia, the trough over the north and a cold front arcing south from Brisbane complete the bleak picture. Strong easterly winds reaching 40 knots over the northeast with southerlies up the west coast. Swells building to 4 to 6 metres in eastern waters, not often the case at all. A severe weather warning has been issued for the east. Heavy rain, damaging winds and surf. A gale warning from Stanley to Tasman Island. A strong wind warning from Sandy Cape to Stanley and from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point. We also have a flood watch for nearly all areas bar the west. A road weather alert for the eastern half of the state along with the Midlands. A warning to sheep graziers in the east completes the warnings. Forecast 19 for Hobart. Rain, possible heavy falls. Heavy falls also for Geeveston and Bothwell. And you might notice on all our forecasts tonight, rain everywhere but just a 95% chance of rain. There's a bit of a chance it won't. Rain for Launceston, Devonport heavy rain. Cressy rain and possible heavy falls. I think it's going to be raining everywhere tomorrow. 19 for Burnie, Strawn rain and 21. 19 the top for Curry. In the east tomorrow, 20 for St Helens, heavy rain and wind, same for Swansea, 19 the high and 19 for Orford. The UV jumps to 7, which is still in the high bracket. On Thursday, showers again, but easing and contracting to the west and far south in the evening. Partly cloudy on Friday, a shower over the west and far south and later through Bass Strait. And on Saturday, showers extending statewide from the west and north. A sunny 26 in Perth, a shower or 2 in Adelaide, showers in Melbourne and Canberra, but a sunny 30 in Sydney. Brisbane, an early shower and 32. Plenty of cloud around, 19 in Hobart, 19 in Launceston, showery in Devonport already and 18 degrees, 95% chance of rain, Kim, 5% that it won't rain.
I love your optimism, but not so good. That's all we have time for tonight. If you've missed any of our local stories tonight, you can view these on YouTube later. Thanks for joining us. Good night.